Welcome to this week's episode of Ant on Music. I, of course, am your humble host, Ant, and this week we're going to do something a little different. I usually, week in, week out, I show you some big box set and all the new releases that I've picked up and stuff I've picked up out there, crate digging when I go to my favorite local record stores and when I go to, record riots and things like that and thrifting and things like that. But this week we're going to do something different. If you saw the intro, which obviously you did because otherwise you wouldn't be here, going to talk about live albums, all right? Not the quote-unquote, best live albums, because what is best? Music is not a competition. I'm pretty sure everyone knows when they hear something that's crappy, and a lot of what you hear, it depends on where you are in life and how it hits you, and do you have a fond memory of that time? Do you have, is it superior musicianship? There's so many factors that, in my mind, that go into making a great live album. All right. And this is not the definitive. I'm not even sure if these are my favorite live albums of all time because it's so hard to weed through all the stuff that I do have and pick stuff out. But what we're going to look at are some of my favorites, all right? And what I'd like for you guys to do is in the comments section below, tell me what your 5 favorites are. Not of the bunch that I'm giving out, but your 5 favorites. Is there something that you think that I might dig that I didn't mention? Or something where I put it out there and you're like, God, that album kind of, not so hot, don't dig it. Whatever it is, let me know. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on it. And before we get into it, trying to grow the channel, always trying to grow the channel, right? I'm at 425 subscribers, which is phenomenal. I'm really thrilled about that. I would love to reach 500 and soon. I really would. Been doing this for 2 years and I've taken a very chilled out approach to it. I try to take a chilled out approach to most things in life. So I'd really like to see the channel grow. If you dig what I'm doing, comment, subscribe, share it across other platforms, clue in your friends about it. Other music-minded people, love to have more people here. The more the merrier, as I always say. And without further ado, let's get into it, all right? I kind of think, being Gen X, or as they like to say, of a certain age, one of the touchstone albums for my generation, especially if you're into hard rock, heavy metal, glam metal, what have you, has to be the first album I'm going to show you. And I believe it's definitely the first album I purchased by this band. And it's also, I think, the first live album I ever purchased as well. Talking about Kiss Alive, all right? Alive is actually celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, which I'm really kind of shocked that they didn't put out a deluxe version of this album yet. It's really shocking to me. I mean, this is like the quintessential Kiss performance from the 70s. It kicks off with Deuce. You got Strutter, Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, Nothing to Lose, Come On and Love Me, Parasite She, Watching You, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll. And the album kicks from beginning to end. Granted, we've all heard that it was modified in studio and all that, and still phenomenal live album. I know people hate on Kiss a lot, and also a lot of people love Kiss, and I fall into both camps. There's sometimes I really find them annoying, and sometimes I love them. But I've been a lifelong fan of theirs, and this is truly a wonderful live album. Like I said, this was probably my introduction to live rock music in the vinyl format, or any format for that matter. But back then there was only vinyl and 8-track. So Kiss Alive. Next thing I'm going to show you, I've had this in my collection. I've had the Kiss Alive album, even though I didn't get it in 75, it was probably like 78. This one I've had since it came out. Bruce Springsteen Live 75, 85, and Bruce with the E Street Band. And I've had this, and this is beat to hell. It really is. I got the 3 compact disc version. I should be grabbing the vinyl version of this if I ever come across it in my travels. And this is a great live album, but it's not an album. It's across many, many shows, but it really showcases Bruce at his best in the late 70s, mid 70s to the mid 80s. And I mean, from start to finish, it's just like one powerhouse performance after another. You've got in here Thunder Road, Adam Raised the Cane. My absolute favorite version of Spirit in the Night. Another fantastic version of Growing Up. Cool thing I really like about this Bruce album is that it has a lot of the stage banter, which was eliminated from the Kiss album, and I think in retrospect it's probably better because I have all the Kiss on the soundboard albums, and I will say this: some of the banter from Paul especially is beyond cringy at this point, but the Bruce stuff, him talking, even though it's something dated, it still sounds cool. That's the best way to say it. And it's got him through some great stages in his career. It's got stuff from Nebraska on here, which I can't believe I just found out that Bruce is going to drop another box set. And if you go back a few videos back, maybe 6 or 7 videos back, I did a big video on Bruce's Big Giant box set, Tracks 2, but he's dropping Nebraska 82. And they've already released the single for the original version of Born in the USA, which didn't appear on Nebraska, but it's appearing on this in its original form, and it's pretty cool. So, Bruce Springsteen, live 75, 85, and, other songs on here that are just phenomenal. You've got I'm on Fire, Born to Run, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Jersey Girl, Working on the Highway, Independence Day, Badlands. I mean, this album kicks ass. If you've never heard it, this is a great place to start with Bruce. And, like a Bruce live show, it is a religious experience. Very, very awesome album there. Next thing I'm going to show you, this is one that's, just about on everybody's greatest live album list. And, of course, it's on mine. The Who. Live at Leeds. This was The Who at their finest hour live consistently at this point in time. And it really is fantastic. You get Tommy in here. You've got Heaven and Hell, I Can't Explain, Fortune Teller, Tattoo, and Young Man Blues. Classic tracks, Substitute, Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, A Quick One While He's Away. And then you get into Tommy. Live, which is just absolutely stunning live. And then you finish up with some classic rock tunes like Summertime Blues, Shakin' All Over. Then you get 2 more classic Who tracks with My Generation and Magic Bus. The Who live at Leeds. Just a phenomenal album. And this is my copy, which is the 3LP edition, which has the complete set list on it from that time. And it's even got like a mastering certificate in it. How cool is that? But just awesome. This is once again, if you're unfamiliar with the band, you want to see what they're like. They're wrapping up their farewell tour, which I remember their first farewell tour was when I was 14, and now I'm late 50s. So that's that. Next one I'm going to show you. Here's a curveball. All right, because I'm not a country music fan. All right, I wouldn't consider myself a country music fan in the very least. Modern country, I really don't like at all. All right, but going back to my high school years, all right, and I wasn't one of those guys in a pickup truck with chaw in his mouth and with the gun rack or any of that crap, especially not in the Bronx. But my best friend from high school, his brother Carlos turned me on. And all of us on to one of his favorite artists. And I don't even really consider it country. I really do consider it calypso drunk rock and roll. Just celebrated the passing of the second anniversary of Jimmy Buffett's passing. And this is where I started listening to Jimmy Buffett. Okay? Started with You Had to Be There. This might be one of the most fun live albums I've ever listened to. And it made me a Jimmy Buffett fan instantly, just for God's Own Drunk alone. What great storytelling in that song. Son of a Sailor, which I've always said that I've learned that I am in the real world. Pencil Thin Mustache, Wonder Why We Ever Go Home, Havana Daydreaming, the classic Margaritaville, one of Jimmy Buffett's great 8, Changes in Attitude, Changes in Latitudes, Come Monday, about Labor Day weekend show. Perrier Blues, I've had those more than once or twice in my life. Grapefruit, Juicy Fruit, He Went to Paris, Captain and the Kid, which is a great tune. Why Don't We Get Drunk and Screw? Pirate Looks at 40. I mean, just phenomenal live album. Great performances by the Coral Reefer Band. Early Jimmy Buffett, very, very cool. It's like, I almost felt at that time, which, that album came out in 78. I became a fan when I was introduced to it in 84. And I devoured the entire back catalog, and I started off with listening to Last Mango in Paris, and I've been a dedicated Parrot head ever since, believe it or not. So, very cool Jimmy Buffett album. You Had to Be There, recorded live down in the beautiful Atlanta's Fox Theater. Definitely worth checking out. Now, next one I'm going to show you, okay, is one where bands released a few really classic live albums. You have the one just called Live. Then you've got Seconds Out. All right. For me, my favorite of theirs, Three Sides Live. Genesis 3 Sides Live. I love this era of Genesis. I love Abacab. I love Duke. That to me is a great era of the band. And this starts off with Turn It On Again. And just hearing the opening strains of Turn It On Again, you just feel energized, and you're in for a good night, if you're at that concert. Fantastic live album. You've got Dodo, Abacab, Behind the Lines, Duchess, Me and Sarah Jane, Follow You, Follow Me, Misunderstanding, In the Cage, Afterglow, and then you've got some new tunes that weren't available in the States before that with Paperlate. You might recall Me and Virgil, Evidence of Autumn, and Open Door. And it's just one of those albums where I have such fond memories of it. And really do dig this period of Genesis, with the drum duel with Chester Thompson and Phil Collins. Just amazing stuff. I know other people will say Seconds Out is their classic one. I know other people say Live with Peter Gabriel is their classic one. For me, and you can fight me in the comments on it, this is, can't say the best, but it's definitely my favorite. I have a lot of fond memories of that one. Next up, okay, I have Sting, Bring On the Night. This album is probably the live album that I go back to most of everyone in my catalog. All right, of all the stuff that I have in my collection, this one I go back to time and time again. First time I got to see any member of the Police was Sting on this tour, the Dream of the Blue Turtles tour. Radio City, 1985, a few days after Hurricane Gloria. All right, I had just been working at my job in high school for about a year. I think the tickets were $27. Got floor seats for $27 at Radio City Music Hall. Is that insane? $27 for tickets, right? And just an absolute killer band. I mean, you've got Omar Hakim on drums from the Weather Report. You've got Kenny Kirkland on keyboards. Daryl Langer on bass. Branford Marsalis. I mean, just killer. Absolute killer night. I remember going into Radio City and, the darkness and just the cloud of smoke over it as they were playing Bob Marley albums before he came out. So just absolutely a stunning live album from Sting. You've got Bring On the Night, When the World's Running Down, You Make the Best of What's Still Around, Consider Me Gone, Low Life, We Work the Black Seam. So you're getting a mixture of classic Police tracks reworked by these phenomenal jazz musicians, being led by Sting, and it's just incredible. Dream of the Blue Turtles, Demolition Man, One World Not Enough, which is amazing. Love is the Seventh Wave, Moon Over Bourbon Street, an amazing version of I Burned for You, Another Day, The Children's Crusade, Down So Long, and finishing off with Tea in the Sahara. If you don't own this album, pick it up. It's just really one of the best albums, live albums ever, in my opinion. And like I said, definitely in my top 5, and definitely the one I go back to most. I can listen to this all the time. It's just incredible. So next one, all right. This was a concert that killed me that I didn't get a chance to go to as a kid. I remember 2 of my good friends in high school, my friends Terry and Mark, went, and it's I still have it. Got my first tour book from this concert. I was so over the moon about going to this show that and I couldn't go. I can't remember the reason why, but I couldn't go. And my buddies Terry and Mark went. They picked me up a program, picked me up a tour book, and this was the 1985 World Slavery Tour. Iron Maiden Live After Death. Great stage banter, great recording. This was from the Long Beach Arena out in California. And it is, to me, the best Iron Maiden live album they ever made. They've never topped it. They've had some pretty good performances over the years, but this was just them at their, in my opinion, at their peak. And obviously on the Power Slave album cycle, and we start off with Churchill's Speech going into Aces High, really get you psyched up. Then to 2 Minutes to Midnight, The Trooper, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which was like their first foray into extended tracks, very proggy in a lot of ways. Then the absolute killer 1-2 punch of Power Slave and Number of the Beast, Hallowed Be Thy Name and Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills and Running Free, Wrathchild, 22 Acacia Avenue, Children of the Dam, Die With Your Boots On, and Phantom of the Opera. That is a freaking kick-ass set. That is, really, to this day, almost untouchable as far as live sets go from Maiden and just about any band out there on the circuit. Incredible live album. Definitely worth listening to. Next one's one of those other classics, which is before my time. But it's a must listen to. It's kind of funny because they always caught a lot of slack from Rolling Stone. They were never given respect by Stone, but they were adored by fans. Definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, live act of the 70s. Talking about the classic Led Zeppelin album, Song Remains the Same, recorded at Madison Square Garden. And it's from the film of the same name. And you get Rock and Roll Celebration Day, Song Remains the Same, Rain Song, which I can listen to endlessly, Dazed and Confused, No Quarter, Stairway to Heaven, Bonham's Moby Dick, and Whole Lotta Love. This is one of those albums perennially on every greatest hits live album chart there is. And of course, it's on mine. Why wouldn't it be? It's a freaking phenomenal album. Wish I was old enough to have attended those shows, but I think I was 5 years old when that was recorded, so kind of understandable that I wasn't there. Next up, we're going to get into a couple of more modern, or I like to call modern classics, albums that have come out more recently, and they deserve a lot of respect. They really do. Saw this tour a couple of years back, and I've shown this album before, so I'll be brief on it. But this one, Tears for Fears, Songs for a Nervous Planet. Holy crap. What a great live concert. What a great live album. It's just, it's like for guys that are getting into their 60s, they're still out there, and I think they're better now than they were back in the 80s, if that's even possible. And it's just a killer set, top to bottom. Say Goodbye to Mom and Dad, The Girl That I Call Home, Emily Said, and Astronaut. So they start off side A with 4 new tracks, and then you get into the live aspect of this. It's like kind of a, it's like 3 sides, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides live, and one side is the new studio tracks they put out, but it's a live album. No Small Thing, The Tipping Point, and then they get right into the classics. They get into Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Secret World, Sowing the Seeds of Love, which is amazing studio and phenomenal live. Long Time, Break the Man, My Demons, River of Mercy, which off of their last album, which to me, the Tipping Point, which is an absolute classic song. Mad World, Suffer the Children, Women in Chains, Bad Man Song, Pale Shelter from the Hurting, Break It Down, Head Over Heels, Change, and closing out with Shout. This is a great live album, all right? And like I said, looking at stuff over the history of time of music that I listen to, which is basically the late 60s to present, I'm going to be going back to this album time and time again. It's that good. The performances are phenomenal. The singing is great. The vibe is incredible. Really, really just, head over heels better than a lot of the stuff that's out there on the road. No pun intended. All right. Here's another modern classic. It's only from 3 years ago, the concert, and I absolutely love this. Love this album. It is definitely just excellence as far as musicianship goes, and I'm thrilled that I'm going to be getting to see their leader, Steven Wilson, back out on tour again, talking about Porcupine Tree, Closure Continuation Tour. All right. And this was recorded in Amsterdam, and I got to see it live at Radio City, and it was mind-blowing between the visual effects, which I know don't come across on an album, but the set was just incredible. The set list was incredible. Kicks off with Blackest Eyes, and that's the heaviest riff in the Porcupine Tree catalog. Then you get the newer tunes. You get Harridan and Of the New Day. Rats Return. Go back to the classics with Even Less and Drown With Me. Then you get Dignity, The Sound of Music. Sound of Music, I should say. Last Chance to Evacuate Planet Earth. Complete with Marshall Applewhite, the lunatic cult leader. Not the lunatic cult leader in the White House, lunatic cult leader that had all his guys kill themselves. So Last Chance to Evacuate Planet Earth before it's recycled. One of my favorite tunes. Chimera's Wreck, Fear of a Blank Planet. Buying New Soul, Walk the Plank, Sentimental. Anesthetize, which takes up a whole album side, which is a great tune. And if you listen to it, if you're a Porcupine Tree fan, you know that in the studio version, you get Alex Lifeson doing a solo on it. Herd Culling, which is another great heavy tune from Porcupine Tree. I Drive the Hearse, which I really, really dig. Sleep Together, Collapse the Light into the Sun, Halo, and of course, closing out with Trains, the biggest quote-unquote hit from Steven Wilson. Steven Wilson's Porcupine Tree. Next up, I was actually at this show, and this is one of those ones. It's like Floyd has put out a lot of great live albums. Let's face facts, and there's a lot of good bootlegs out there. Earlier this year we got the release of Pompeii on vinyl. I was fortunate enough to see this. This is the remixed version of Delicate Sound of Thunder. All right, I was at the show at Nassau Coliseum, and this is just another one. Great set, lots of fantastic tunes. It's one of those albums I go back to time and time and time again. I never get sick of it. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Signs of Life, Learning to Fly, yet another movie, Round and Round, The New Machine, Terminal Frost, New Machine Part 2, Sorrow, The Chugging Attack of the Dogs of War, On the Turning Away, One of These Days, On the Run, Great Gig in the Sky, Wish You Were Here, Welcome to the Machine, Us and Them, Money, Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb, One Slip, and Run Like Hell. So fantastic. And it's like, I don't doubt, a couple of weeks back I did an unboxing of Roger Waters' latest, and I got a feeling that's going to be in my top live albums of all time too. Next up, going to change genres a bit here. No, not really change genres, but change, change, I guess, where we're at as far as style goes. And this is, another acoustic one. All right. We've got Alice in Chains Unplugged. This was Lane Staley, and at his most fragile, and it's an absolutely hauntingly beautiful album. Alice in Chains Unplugged. Another album, can listen to it endlessly. You've got Nutshell, Brother, No Excuses, which is phenomenal. Sludge Factory, Down in a Hole, Angry Chair, Rooster, Got Me Wrong, Heaven Beside You, Frogs, Over Now, Wood, and Killer Is Me. I really think that MTV should really work with the record labels and release more of the Unplugged series. I would love to see Queensryche. That was another great one. And this was just killer, from beginning to end, just a solid performance. Can't get enough of it. Down to our last two, all right. And I was fortunate. I've seen a lot of these bands. Yeah, saw Alice in Chains, not Unplugged. I wish I would have. That would have been some night. But I did get to see King Crimson. I would love to see them release this on vinyl. I don't think they have. This is the Radical Action to Unseat the Hold of a Monkey Mind. And it's just an incredible look back at King Crimson's career with Robert Fripp, at the helm with a great supporting cast. And you get the three-headed monster on drums of Pat Mastelotto and Bill Rieflin and Gavin Harrison. Jacko on guitar and vocals, Tony Levin and Mel Collins, and just awesome. And it's another fantastic collection of tracks from across Crim's career. You get the Threshold Soundscape, Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 1, Pictures of a City, Peace, Radical Action to Unseat the Hold of Monkey Mind, Meltdown, which Meltdown in Mexico is another great live album. Radical Action 2, Level 5, just hard to top that live. Epitaph, The Hellhounds of Crim, just awesome. Construction of Light, A Scarcity of Miracles. One of my favorites, and definitely from my favorite ever of King Crimson, Red. Love that song. Backstage Adventures of the Crimson Kind, Vroom, Banshee Legs, Bell Hassle, Easy Money, The Letters, which is another fantastic tune, Sailor's Tale, The Light of Day, Talking Drum, Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 2. My favorite song, probably in my top 10 of all time, Starless. Granted, I prefer John Wetton's version. I think it's timeless, but excellent version done here. Devil Dogs of Tessellation Road, The Court of the Crimson King, 21st Century Schizoid Man, Suitable Grounds for the Blues, and one more, Red Nightmare. Just phenomenal piece of memorabilia to have of King Crimson, really at a later date prime. Like, what a resurgence that they had after, breaking apart and putting it all back together and coming out with totally reworking the way the Crimson catalog worked. Just amazing. The next one I got the feeling is gonna invite some controversy. All right, one of the best live bands ever. That's not up for discussion. Is Rush. All right, and Rush was one of those bands. It's like if you look at live albums, a lot of times live albums, what you get with a live album is you get a lot of times a stopgap effort. Hey, we've done this. We need time before we go back in the studio. Let's throw out a live album, or it's a contractual obligation, or something like that. With Rush, they kind of made it their business that it was a way to define a period in their catalogs. Like, they do 3-4 albums, boom, live album representing that set. And there was always a change after a live album. You knew that once they put out a live album, that you were going to see a change in direction from the band, whatever it was. And a lot of people will say that, that's the best live album. All the World's a Stage. Others will say that Exit Stage Left is the greatest Rush live album. And for me, it's really flipping a coin between that and this. All right. For me, what makes this the greatest live album, and it's even better if you can watch it on video, is the crowd. This is in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and the crowd is just so freaking pumped. It's unreal. It's a classic Rush set, right? Kicking off with Tom Sawyer and ending with Vital Signs, and you get stops all along the catalog along the way. Distant Early Warning, New World Man, Roll the Bones. I mean, that era of Rush is amongst my favorites. You get the big instrumentals. You get YYZ. You get La Villa Strangiato. You get, the classic songs that have acoustic in them, like Closer to the Heart and Trees. You also get an absolute freaking killer drum solo from Neil Peart, the Professor, O Batterista. You get latter day hits like Dreamline and Secret Touch. And you get classics, they close out with classics like By Torn the Snow Dog, Cygnus X1, Working Man, Between Sun and Moon, and Vital Signs. It's like really a great mixture of new and old. A crowd that, holds them up like no other crowd could. And for me, that is the finest live Rush album. And I'm sure people are going to be fighting me in the comments on it, but that's that. So, something a little different this week. Checking out all the live stuff that's out there. Not all the live stuff that's out there, but these are among my favorites. Figured I wanted to do something different. Next week, be back, and got a lot of new releases coming out this fall, man. I can't believe how many cool things are coming out. You got David Bowie coming out with a massive box set. Phil Collins coming out with a box set of No Jacket Required, and that's just next week. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with another live set. Foreigner has a lot. Foreigner has Foreigner 4 coming out. There's just so much good stuff. And then there's other new albums coming out as well. I found out recently Luke Spiller of the Struts released his first solo album, and it's already sold out. I can't even find it, so I'm going to try and track that down because big fan of his as well. Good stuff coming out. Come back, check it out. Like, subscribe, share, argue, all that good stuff. And thank you so much for checking out the channel. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe. And until next time, peace, one love, music. I'm out.